caution, slow down, and in other respects, to take some time and provide assistance. The one thing I know from experience again is that sometimes visitors or mopeds will stop in the most unusual places. Sometimes on a corner, sometimes near a bus shelter, and sometimes just on the side of the road. In some respects, it's a good idea because the person who's riding up front wants to stop and make sure the person behind them are comfortable and close enough. But I think in that case, we have to be very careful because we never know when it's going to take place. And certainly, it's not the best to stop on a corner, but we have to be prepared for that. And so my goal sometimes is to be mindful, of course, of the quote-unquote red license plates to give them more leeway, and then we go from there. So tonight's show is going to be an interesting show, as always, I would say, because we're going to be discussing road safety, upcoming Road Safety Week, and we have two guests, and I'm particularly excited because one of our guests is relatively young, and I smile because we so often complain about young people not getting involved, and they do get involved, and this is an example of young persons being involved. And I want to also talk about their ideas in terms of how they believe we, as I guess some older persons, should be able to relate or get other young people to pay attention on the roads. And so we'll have that in a few minutes. We're going to start up in a minute or two in terms of asking actual questions. And as you know, for me, it always is, we always need to get them to ask questions and stuff. And so we'll start off with Antonio. You want to give yourself an introduction, please?
Yes, good morning.
Good morning, wow.
Good evening, Bermuda. My name is Antonio Roberts, and I serve as the current chairman of the Bermuda Road Safety Council. This is my second year my second term in this role, and I'm excited to be here. Thank you, Anthony, for inviting us on the show tonight.
Sure.
I think the conversation is very important. And what a way to start the Bermuda Road Safety Council Road Safety Week by starting with the conversation, real conversations that matter here on Inside Bermuda. I'm so excited to be here with you. And yeah, I'm excited about the conversation.
Okay.
Thank you to Bermuda for listening. And if you have questions, we're here to answer as best as we can. And let's have some real conversation about, what's happening on our roads and how we need to be more safer.
Okay. And before you slide away from that would be, what is your background in the context of the road safety? You said your second time around. What got you involved? What excites you? What makes you still be involved?
So I got involved maybe about 3 or 4 years ago as a council member. I tell everybody I wasn't a good council member because I wasn't as active as I should have been, or as I am now. But road safety, actually a friend of mine's got me involved in road safety. She was involved in road safety and always talked about the Road Safety Council. And as I was thinking about, boards to join and councils to join, I thought road safety would be a good one because it's, a national need, is a national conversation. Some will say it's a national emergency, safety and on the roads. And I think that, it was a way to get involved in our community. So I decided to join the Road Safety Council. I've been loving the council, enjoying the time, and in this second year, my first year I learned a lot.
Even though you weren't active?
Even though I wasn't as active.
Right.
But now, as in, being in the chair, I've begun to learn a lot more about, our roads, the act, the legislations, and how I think I'm in a better position to know how we're able to change our behavior so that we can change the trajectory that we see on our roads today.
Okay. And now I'm excited again for Mr. Michael Scott to be here I'm going to keep on saying as a young person.
Yes.
So I want you to tell us who you are, first of all, what your background is, and the same thing, what was your inspiration to get involved in the road safety? And then I'm going to talk about what is your experience, and then again just have a conversation after. And so again, welcome, but let us know who you are.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Scott. I'm the deputy chairman of the Bermuda Junior Road Safety Council, and I'm just excited to be here and get my voice out there and help people to understand the perspective of young people when it comes to road safety.
Okay, you guys are going too slow. You're not too slow, you're going too short, I suppose. What is your background, though? You're still a student? What's happening with you in that sense?
I'm currently at the Bermuda College. I'm doing my Associates of Arts and Science, and my plans for the future is I hopefully plan to become a civil engineer.
Wow. Okay, got you. And obvious question, do you have a bike? Well, I guess you're too young to drive a car, but do you have a bike?
No, not at the moment, but I'm planning on getting a car soon.
You're planning on getting a car. Do you ride a bike?
No, not at the moment.
Okay, and so do you have a license to ride a bike?
Yeah, I have a license.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, and so, well, we'll figure it out. How do you get around?
Bus, usually. Sometimes my mom is able to take me places, but yeah.
And how do you find that convenience-wise? If you got to go somewhere, like, is it convenient to say, hey, well, I'll wait for the bus, or mommy, come get me, or how's it go? You're smiling, so what's it?
You got to plan ahead.
Yeah, definitely plan ahead, leave at a decent time, make your time there. Punctuality is very important, so.
Okay, I got you. All right, well, let's go. I did send out a media thing earlier, right? Based upon some stuff I had done. And always in preparing for the show is to go back and try to get some proper contacts and those kind of things. And what was actually frightening, if you will, is that, and I did use the time frame of the past 10 years. And in doing so, in order to get consistent information, I went from 15 to 2024, recognizing that the past 2 years there have been lots of activity, but it has not yet been formally reported. And so I wanted to make sure I had good information. And so my notice said that there have been 13,000 collisions in the past 10 years. And I do emphasize collisions as opposed to accidents. And we can talk later on in terms of the difference between those two.
Yes.
And in those 10 years, there were 108 fatalities, mostly on motorbikes. And, which I still find surprising, the majority reasons for those accidents or those collisions were alcohol or impaired driving and speed as the major contributing factors. And most of the collisions were in private motor cars and motorcycles. And unless I was not able to be complete, I guess, I did not find any information really in terms of the actual accidents or collisions by age, sex, or race. Race might not be as critical, I guess, in this context. However, I didn't find information in terms of age or sex. And so if you had that, I would definitely be interested in hearing that, because one of the callers at my last show when we had road safety talked about the fact of, hey, let's try to be more consistent so we know where any effort should be targeted as opposed to giving some blanket information. And then the other comment was that one of my personal beliefs, I guess, is there a solution? The answer is yes, for sure there's a solution. And when it comes to change of behavior, I think a lot of times we try to change other people's behavior, but guess what? It starts with us.
Definitely.
So you and me and all the we's around, we are the ones that can do it by making sure that we do things differently. And the last show, with the other member was on Craig Otterbridge, he talked about the fact that we have to all give respect to other road users, and that'll go a long way towards ensuring that there are less challenges on our roads. And then we introduced the fact that one of the agencies that's responsible for road safety is, of course, the Bermuda Road Safety Council. And then is it starting tomorrow, Road Safety Week?
Road Safety Week actually starts today.
Today?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Starts today.
Okay.
And it's a day of remembrance. So remembering those who have lost lives on our roads. And what a perfect time to start this conversation. But I want to go a little deeper into your stats, Anthony, if I may.
Sure, of course.
Just by the research that I have done, we have approximately about 3,760 accidents per year, which equates to about 100 accidents per month, which is over 40%, and over 44% of those accidents need ambulance to attend.
So how much needs ambulance?
About 44% of that.
Okay, yeah.
10% of that require acute care for 7+ days.
And 7% acute care, okay.
Yeah, for 7+ days. So that's your people who have, may have lost a limb, may have, they have to stay in the hospital for, recovery periods. Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's very insightful, because if I am not mistaken, being in ICU for a day costs at least $1,000, probably more than that.
Yes.
And so you can imagine, so if you're saying that 7% of the 100 accidents require acute care,
10%.
10%.
Yes, sir.
That means that, well, that's going to be like 10,000 a day.
Yeah.
For those 10 people.
Roughly.
And then times 7.
And that's over a period of, these stats were over a period of, for the past 10 years. So it's
10 years, okay.
Yeah, past 10 years is where we got these stats from.
Got you. And so then if my quick math works right, it means that of the 100 accidents per month, 10 people go to acute care for 7 days. So that's like about at least $70,000 a month as a result of those accidents.
Just for health care, just for the hospital care.
Yes, correct.
We haven't even started to talk about post-care, so physiotherapy. We haven't talked about surgery, people that need surgery, so that's just them staying there, if I'm correct, just staying in the hospital. We haven't even talked about the care that goes around that, which can go up to 20,000 plus, depending on what the issue is.
Yes. Okay.
And then after that, home care. Some people have to do home care after they have been in an accident as well.
Correct. Okay. Now I'm going to come back to Mr. Michael. So you've been on the Junior Road Safety Council for how long?
The last 2 years.
The last 2 years. And what is your involvement, not you necessarily, but you as younger people in terms of making sure or trying to get a message out to general road users?
Our involvement would mostly involve, along with assisting the Road Safety Council, we would reach out to like high schools and schools around us. We plan assemblies within those schools to try and just help the understanding of people our age to understand the dangers that could happen on the road with unsafe management, as well as just trying to promote safer road behaviors in the younger age groups.
And why the younger lot as opposed to, say, your age?
It's not just the younger groups. It's like high schools as well. It's mainly high schools because to join the Bermuda Junior Road Safety Council, I believe you have to be at least 16.
Okay.
So we would have assemblies we would share statistics during those assemblies, as well as we would try and have a little bit of trivia to make it interactive so it actually sticks with the younger people, and just trying to ensure that they're safer on the roads.
And what's an example, for example, of assembly? Like what can you tell me as a younger person, right, that makes me act more sensibly, or whatever the word is, on the road?
For example, Dion and I did an assembly up at Cedar Bridge, and we showed them what could happen when we're not safe on the roads. We had brought in a family member of someone who had gotten into an accident, and they had to get full facial reconstructive surgery. And with permission from the principal, of course, we had showed them the videos of what his face looked like before and after the surgery and the process that he had to go through to recover. So we showed them like the real stuff. We don't try and hide anything.
Okay. And what was the reception from the students?
The reception from the students, before we had shown them the images and everything, we had given them a warning. If anyone felt uncomfortable with this kind of material, they could step out until after this part of the presentation was finished. So it wasn't, I feel like it was pretty good. Like they took it and it like stuck with them. And
did anybody actually say, okay, I might know the person, for example, and therefore left the audience?
I don't believe they would have known the person, but I remember people coming up to me afterwards and saying, like, whoa, this like how you never really think that it could happen to you until you actually see it.
Correct.
So, yeah, it stuck with them.
Okay.
Yeah, I was at that assembly as well, and the assembly was focused on helmet safety and why road users should, especially those on the bikes, should wear the right helmet. And that gentleman, if I memory, serves me right, it wasn't a rainy day. It was just a normal day in Bermuda. He was riding his bike as normal, not speeding and doing that. And it's just that he got into an accident, and because he had a decent helmet, but because he didn't have a full face helmet, the way how he fell caused I think he broke almost every bit of his face. So they had to reconstruct his whole face. And even me sitting there looking at the pictures and videos, I was like, man.
Wow.
It made me go to Cycle Care and get a helmet, a different helmet, because it opens your mind to different things when you see these. And a lot of times, those sort of images can be triggering for some, especially our kids and also adults. But I believe that it's the real pictures, the real things that we have to see to really get our mind to click that this thing is real, and anything could happen.
And because you started in that vein, what advice do you give us, those who ride motorcycles, in terms of what is a good helmet?
I think any helmet that covers your face, especially the helmets that cover your jawline, I think is the better ones that they suggest. Now, those helmets are not the sexiest helmets. They're not the most looking helmet. There's nice looking helmets, but I believe that they keep you safe. The helmet companies around, they have the different types, and they will say, this is a better helmet for if you're trying to remain safe. So you can get the ones that come right below the jawline, and there's also ones that actually cover the mouth as well. And it also has it has space for you to breathe as well. But anything that covers the full face, the full face is really the best ones to have.
And for me, that begs the obvious question in terms of, given the severity of damage that can occur to anyone, I guess I'll ask the question: is there a move to actually only sell good helmets, full face helmets, for example? Like, is there any appetite for that? I don't know.
I believe there is some appetite for that. I believe that we have to really change the minds of our people, and it ultimately is it's their decision what they want to wear. I don't think that we can. Maybe we can put legislation in place that you can only wear a particular helmet, but we do what's most preferred. So a lot of times, if you're I'm in technology by profession, and most times when you install a piece of software, it says recommended.
Yes.
Or you could do the other pieces, but this is highly recommended. And I believe that's just where we are when it comes to helmets. This is highly recommended. You can wear these other helmets that, will also, protect your head, but this one's more highly recommended. And I think that's where people have to make a choice, everything's a choice. And they have to choose, what they're going to do when it comes to their life. Helmets are, you have to wear a helmet here in Bermuda, to be on a motorcycle. Really, any cycle that that you ride, you should wear a helmet. Even those that push pedal, those that are on electric bikes, everyone should be wearing a helmet to keep safe, because you just never know what can happen at any period of time.
Got you. Well, again, to listening audience, we're here on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. Our guests this evening are from the Bermuda Road Safety Council, Mr. Antonio Roberts and Mr. Michael Scott. Mr. Michael Scott represents the Junior Road Safety Council. That's the correct name. So it is a subset of the main Road Safety Council, I assume.
Yeah. Yes.
Gotcha. Okay. And do you have direct input to the full Road Safety Council?
I believe they take our suggestions. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. The Junior Road Safety Council is made up of high school students, actually high school and college students. They go from, right now we have students from Cedar Ridge, Berkeley, BI, and Bermuda College. And we task them with projects to focus on when it comes to their age category. One of the things that we are tasking them with is looking at a piece of legislation and getting their thoughts on the legislation and how we can amend some of this legislation. I know that the previous cohort of the Road Safety Council, Virginia Road Safety Council, had input on the new Project Ride rules that just was passed in the House. So with the on-road testing, the Junior Road Safety Council had commentary on that. They had input on that as well. So we do get suggestions from them on how things affect their age group and their opinions.
Okay. Just let me take this call real quick. Good evening, caller. You're an early caller, but I'll take the call just to get your comments. Welcome to Insight.
Yes, good evening, gentlemen, and good. I really appreciate this conversation.
Yes, sir.
Sending your guests there.
You're calling early tonight. Go ahead.
Yeah. When it comes, I heard the gentleman talking about legislation due to the fact of helmets. Now, when the helmets was first introduced, it was legislated because of the damages that we had back in the day
Yes.
of head injuries, and the government at that time decided to put helmets on people's heads and the protection, like that, right? It was legislated for them to have that, right?
Yes.
Now, due to the fact that they did do that, but we never got to the point of what he was just talking about, the different types of helmets that would protect you, your face, mouth, and all of this type of extra protection. So we haven't gotten to that point yet, or we haven't looked at that point where that also should be recommended due to the fact that we left it up to the people that bring helmets in to give you a selection of one helmet, but looking at the damages in which he just explained by whole facial recognition rebuilding because of the damage in which that person has gotten into an accident.
Yes.
And that should be taken into consideration as well, where a bit of legislation may help that out as well, where you are, if you're going to sell a helmet, it would help to bring in a helmet that's more protective to the rider of that bike, to help people out to not actually just select the helmet, but to be able to make the right decision on to protecting themselves.
Sure.
Could happen to anyone.
Got that.
But another thing in the sense, now when it comes to the full face helmet where you have the black visor on, has that been, is there any data on that helping, or have you seen any damage because of that to the face, where you're wearing this thing over your face and you get smashed into something? Does the plastic do any damage to the face? Is that another cause of damage to the face if they're wearing a full face plastic on the face? Is that any data in that? Because that looks like something that could break up and crash into your face, and rip up your skin and stuff like that.
Okay, cool. Let him answer that question. So
I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much. Enjoying the show.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. That's interesting. I'm not sure if you recall this, but obviously at one stage, helmets in Bermuda were not mandatory.
Yeah.
And then there were many accidents took place. I forget exactly when, but many years ago now.
That's before my time.
And they introduced the legislation that helmets are mandatory.
Yeah.
And now, there are some helmets that people use that actually are not allowed. What we used to call the Honda helmet, for example. Mm-hmm. So that was able to be stopped. And so the question now, I guess, not for us right now, but for yourselves to look at is it possible or practical to recommend legislation to ensure that all helmets that are sold are as best they could be? Because I can buy what I like, but if I get in an accident, it does contribute to the healthcare costs.
Yeah. I believe that that's actually something, and I just wrote to one of my council members to look into. I think that it is a piece of legislation that we can look at either advising or recommending.
Sure.
Would it go past, possibly? Sorry.
No problem.
But to your point, it does add to the healthcare cost and all of that. So it is something that we can look at, and I believe something that we can do.
Sure. Okay. And just as a general question, it is in Bermuda, many people obviously get around using bikes and what have you, and they have small children. What's your comment, Michael, in terms of children being on bikes, like small children?
I feel like if you are going to have your child on your bike, you need to first teach your child that while they're on your bike, if you're going to put them on your bike, that they need to keep still and not be moving all around while you're taking them from point A to point B. Because anything could happen while you're on that bike. You could lose control, and especially having your child on that bike, I feel like you need to be extra careful of how you're handling yourself and the environment around you.
And I'm smiling. Clearly, you don't have young children, let's say less than 5 or less than 8 maybe, because one of the interesting things is, and I say this from experience, right, is if you have a child on your bike, they will fall asleep.
Yeah.
And the wiggly piece and falling apart, all that kind of stuff is a challenge.
Yeah.
to figure out. And so I guess, I don't know, to you, Antonio, any comments in terms of that? Like, what can they do?
Yeah, so I don't know if it's legislation or if it's a rule. I have to check, and one of my handy-dandy road safety council members says this, can check for me. But there is, they do have seats for the young kids to sit in, which kind of helps stay with them a little bit.
Yeah.
On the bike. I think it's rough to say, if a kid can or cannot be on a bike. I know that, people, ride bikes for many different reasons. Affordability.
Yes.
Maybe they don't have an assessment number to have a car. So they have to carry the kid around on the bike, especially those, single parents and so on and so forth like that. But I think that...
Well, just but not more single parents, because, if it's mom and daddy,
That's true.
and somebody's getting work early, somebody's geting work late, members in one car per household, and say, hey.
Yeah, so you're right. So it's all walks of life, really.
Exactly, yeah.
All walks of life. I just think that you have to take the necessary precautions. I can remember when I was a kid, I was on my father's bike, my bike. I was on my uncle's bike, and actually I enjoyed it. I prefer to go on the bike than to go in the car. So with everything that you do, even looking beyond on the roads, everything's a risk, right? And it's what risk you're going to take and how safe you're going to be in that risk, or how safe how unsafe you're going to be in that risk.
Okay. Well, I do hope that we take that suggestion at least in terms of the appetite for government to strengthen legislation around helmet design, what can be sold, because again, it doesn't make any sense. I guess it might not be practical to allow people to sell helmets that are not safe, especially if, from what you're saying, a more full-face version would help. So there's less damage to persons. So that's that with the children. Again, to Michael, is a question of now there are, I wouldn't say many, but there are more and more bikes on the road that are, I'm not sure they're electric, but they're not a licensed bike. There's no license plate on it, for example, and people are zooming around on them. I'm not sure. Do you know what I'm talking about? Which bikes are? No? You know what I'm talking about? They are electric bikes?
Vehicles, electric bikes.
Okay.
So we have seen an increase.
They go quite fast, though.
Yes. We have seen an increase of electric vehicles here in the island. And there is some legislation around electric vehicles. They come under the Road Traffic Act. But then there's some of these bikes which doesn't fall under legislation. And these bikes, like you say, are fast.
Yes.
I talk about it all the time. I was riding my bike not too long ago, and an electric bike overtook me.
I was driving my car.
Utterly disrespected. I was disrespected, and electric vehicles. This is a conversation that we have around our table all the time about electric vehicles, and around our table, for the listening audience, who just so they know, we have the council, we have the Bermuda Police Service, we have the Bermuda. We have Corporation of Hamilton. We have people, Public Works. We have a good bit of representation around the room. And, the police are seeing an increase in electric bikes. And some electric bikes, users disobeying the law or, disobeying the law. So, there has been some recommendations that have been put on the table actually for electric vehicles. Actually, in fact, the Road Safety Council, maybe about 3 or 4 years ago, when they first saw electric vehicles, made some recommendations in regards to electric vehicles, and now there is definitely an appetite to put some restrictions in place. I know that there's a difference between if the bike actually has a paddle. If some electric bikes don't have a paddle. So there's differences, different bikes. I believe that the ones that have paddles, the team's gonna get me, but the ones that have paddles, I think, fall under the Road Traffic Act, the Auxiliary Cycle Act. So there's some legislation in place for that. But I'm hoping that this year we will see some legislation go to the House and put in place for electric vehicles.
And are you at liberty to talk about the types of guidelines that you would want to put in place?
I can't talk about that right now, but what we can say is that there's a lot to look at. The question is posed. Should a person who has been taken off the road for an auxiliary cycle, should they have the ability to ride an electric vehicle? And that's what we're seeing now. People who are off the road for an auxiliary cycle, they just hop on an electric vehicle and ride around the road. There's legislation about they have to put a helmet on. There's some pieces talking about also lights.
Okay.
Having a tail light, having also a light in the front, so for nighttime riding. So there, indication. All of these things have to be looked at and considered when it comes to these electric vehicles.
And with that, I guess the question is, what's the process then for the Road Safety Council to do this? Because, again, we've been seeing many, many more bikes on the road now and traveling at high speed. You talking about you was riding your bike. I was driving and a bike overtook me, electric bike overtook me, towing someone, and that's what I'm saying, it was one of those bikes with no license. So I was wondering, where are we at? No license plate on it, Martha. How are they controlled?
So at the moment, it's very, I use the word very interesting. I know of a case that, had been put forth and nothing happened to that particular case. But these are the things that are being considered at the moment, like should electric vehicles have an identified license plate, which bikes fall under that, because you do have electric vehicles, that are sold by, the providers, cycle providers, that actually, they're like a motorbike, but electric, like a car.
Yeah.
But then you talk about the ones that are paddles, have paddles. Should they have, a license plate? The ones who are just like the throttle electric, should that, even the electric scooters, what's legislation around that? So all of that is being considered. The council has made recommendations to the powers that be. I believe that it's just going through the consideration, going through the chambers just to see how it all fits.
Okay. And to the listening audience, it's easy for us to sometimes recommend different things, but unless you are, what I want to do, I guess, is for the listening audience, if someone's listening now that actually does ride an electric motorbike, I want to call it, that doesn't require a license plate, to call in and let us understand what your thoughts would be if you're required, number one, to wear a helmet, if you're required to get some sort of a license, and if you're required to have a license plate on it, as we are talking about. But for now, we'll take this call. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your present?
Yes, I'm back. I would just like to introduce as well, being that it's speaking about road safety, and of course, we should take into consideration the walkers as well should come under some sort of legislation where they should be required to wear some sort of reflective vests or something when they're walking on the roads at night, especially at night, even in the daytime. I've seen some people out here in all black. They just come out of nowhere because of the fact that they're using the opposite side of the road, and you're coming around the corner at 30, 40 kilometers, and there they are, and you have to put your own self in danger by going over the yellow line to clear them. So
correct.
It would help to bring them into the picture as well. For all safety. When it comes to the electric bikes things, I understand what the gentleman said, how fast they can go. I think they should take into consideration when it comes to bringing legislation towards electric bikes. It should be determined on the speed in which that these bikes could go, and who is going to cover the insurance on a person who gets in an accident on the electric bike, because there's no insurance coverage, there's none of that. Even to the person that may run into and all of that. I mean, all of that needs to be taken into consideration. But it's the speed in which these bikes are capable of doing, regardless if they have a paddle or what have you, should be looked at in the interest of legislation. I think that's where the foundation should be looked at, whatever speed this bike could do. If it's doing over 20 or 30 kilometers, well, they're coming into the same speed limit as a car or a motorbike. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. Appreciate that.
I just want to add that there is some piece of legislation on pedestrian walkers. And so there is a piece of legislation. I don't have it with me now.
Sure.
But there is a piece of legislation that talks about pedestrian walkers and how they should walk.
But I think, and to be honest, just from my perspective, I guess, is like, that's for sure. You can't legislate everything, that's for sure. And so sometimes common sense must prevail. And I very often end my show by telling people that, if you're out early or late, to please wear a high visibility vest or a light or something so people can't see you, because if not, you'd be surprised if you're driving at a distance, if you got an all black or nothing reflective in the morning or at night, people are sometimes speeding, inattention, sleepy, whatever the case may be, and they can't see you.
Yep.
And so, again, common sense for your own health and safety should kick in. So a couple more questions, then I'm going to switch over to Michael again to understand your perspective on actually advertising, or what can you do in social media, for example, to get the driving attention or get people's attention to get them to be a little bit more sensible. Do you have any comments, either of you, in terms of, at this point in time, if you get in an accident, someone's got to pay for it. And I don't think at the moment electric bikes are required to have insurance. If that's the case, what happens?
There's a question that are on the table.
Okay, I got you.
I believe. I don't know if there has been an accident to date. I don't know where someone was a default of the electric vehicle to that caused the accident. But those are the questions that were on the table. We have insurance, providers around our table as well.
Oh, okay, I got you.
And that question comes up all the time. I know that the insurance companies are having those conversations as well. I believe that there's an appetite for it, but again, we have to look at the whole scope of everything.
Sure. Again, that's interesting. Yes, the whole scope, but the challenge is going to be, as I said about the helmets, it doesn't make sense letting somebody sell something if there's no proper guidelines around that, and that selling that activity, for example, may cause issues. And so, for example, if we are now selling electric bikes, there's a potential for an accident to take place, and then what happens? So it should be obviously looked at as best we can. And as some people say sometimes, is if there has not been an accident, we've been lucky, because persons do ride those bikes at high speed and on sidewalks and all the rest of it. So again, back to Michael, is you said you don't ride a motorbike. Do you ride a bike at all, a pedal bike, anything like that?
I do have a pedal bike, yes.
I understand. You have it, but you don't ride it. You have it, but you don't ride it?
I ride it sometimes.
Gotcha. And do you personally act sensible? Do you pop wheelies while you're riding? Do you ride on the sidewalk? Do you ride and ignore traffic signs?
Michael's always popping wheelies.
No, I don't. I don't ride it in a way that could possibly be unsafe. I wouldn't ride it like I wouldn't be popping wheelies on the main road or anything like that. I wouldn't be trying to weave through traffic with it. I ride it strictly for like exercise, pretty much.
And so I guess, unless I'm mistaken this, so if you are the quote unquote perfect rider, what impact do you have on the on the Road Safety Council if you yourself are not an abuser? How do you relate to those that do abuse, I suppose?
I have a lot of friends who ride bikes, and it always worries me when I'm hearing them talk about how something could have happened. Though I'm not on the road, I still see a lot of what happens on the road, especially with Bermuda being so small.
Yes.
Like whenever something happens, it always feels like it's hitting home because there's only so many people in Bermuda, and everyone knows everyone in Bermuda. So something could happen to this one person, and then you're like, oh, that's my cousin. Or and especially like going to and from school mornings, like even on the buses, you can still see a lot of what's happening on the roads. People weaving through traffic, people almost getting hit. I remember when I was still in high school, I was on the bus coming home, and this young boy was trying to overtake a bus, and there was another bus coming, and he almost got hit. But thankfully, he was able to get out of the way in time.
Wow. And have you as a junior Road Safety Council or the full Road Safety Council, developed any like advertising or videos and stuff that's going to be used during social media for this week?
I don't know about this week, but I remember in the past we have had a social media campaign about specifically helmet safety.
Okay.
It was how you should start to prepare when you're about to ride. I believe that was our last chairman who was in that video.
Okay, I got you. So Antonio, again, back to you then. In terms of just general commentary for this week, what's the emphasis? What do you want us to do? How do you want us to do things differently? And then also, by the way, just so you get in your mind now, would be to but ask questions about Vision Zero, which I know is introduced elsewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But for now, what would you like to tell us about this week?
So this week we launch a new campaign. Every 5 years, the Road Safety Council does a campaign.
Okay.
And this year we're launching Operation Action. Okay. Changing minds, changing behaviors. And Operation Action deals with putting the responsibility on the user, on the road user, and educating our road users about changing their mind, changing their behaviors. I preached all last year that, we can change legislation, we can change rules on the roads, but the change has to start within us. And it's our job as road users to just behave when we're on the road. So let's start with us. Let's change it. I think you spoke to a little bit earlier. Let us, you, me, Michael. Let it start with us, and then other people can become the we's of the roads and change actually what we do. Let's stop at a stop sign. Let's stop at the red light. Let's not speed. Let's not drive intoxicated. Let's change those behaviors so that we can change the outcome that we see.
And so, how do you travel normally?
I drive a car.
Okay.
And I sometimes ride a bike.
And what is your behavior on the road?
No one's a perfect driver. No one's a perfect rider. So I say that because when I first started joining the Road Safety Council, my friends used to tease me all the time about, come on, Mr. Road Safety Council, man, you got to make sure that you're, obeying the laws. And it's true, there are some habits that we have as road users that we don't necessarily know that habits until someone actually points it out to us.
Yes.
So from time to time, I just used to jump on my bike and not fasten my helmet,
Okay.
And, because I was just going, to the next block or whatever, just being lazy, really. So, actually when I joined the council, I was like, oh, you actually have to make sure you buckle your helmet. So I intentionally had to make sure I buckle my helmet. My friends tell me, go buckle your helmet.
Gotcha.
There's a habits, people that talk on the phone, that don't use hands-free when they're, driving. It's habits that we have. And I believe that, everyone always talks about, the young people. It's not just the young people. It's the working class. It's the 35s and up, the 30s and up, who are, who have been on the roads for 20, 30, 40 years and again have just developed bad habits while driving, not yielding at a giveaway, all those little things that we don't see that we don't in our heads don't think is important, but can cause action. So so we are launching Operation Action. Operation Action applies a safe system approach across 5 pillars: safe road users, safe speeds, safe vehicles, safe roads, and the post crash response. We
Sorry, can you just repeat that again?
Safe road users.
Yes.
Safe speeds.
Yeah.
Safe vehicles.
Yeah.
Safe roads, and post crash response.
Sorry, you go through them, but I will ask you what is post crash response when you get to that one.
So post crash response is what happens, once you've been in an accident.
Okay.
How do you manage that piece? We lead primarily on safe road users, and that's what we're focusing on this year. This is a 5-year plan, so this year we're focusing on safe road users through education, behavior change, as well as legislation change.
Okay. I'm going to take this call and come back to that.
Sure.
Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Good evening. How are you this evening?
I am fine, thanks.
That's good. My opinion and question is that we have a campaign for everything, don't we, in Bermuda?
That's a good question. Good comment, rather. And
I mean, we have Black History Month in February. What's this month? May?
yes, it's me. Yep.
We have road safety,
Yes.
right? And we'll probably campaign Heritage Month, and we'll campaign about that, and we'll try to come up with some sort of way to get around this campaign, and we'll move on, right? When will we really get serious about the amount of lives being lost on our roads? When will we come up with real tangible solutions to change the behavior and the mindset of the people that drive on our roads?
Well,
Do we really want change? Well, excuse me. Do we really want change, or are we just ticking the box?
Well, again,
I think every vehicle that drives and rides on our roads should be registered, whether it has a paddle or not.
Oh, you're talking about the electric bikes now, electric vehicles now?
I'm talking about everything.
Because right now, remember, all cars are registered, right? All bikes are, all motorbikes are.
Well, electric vehicles should be registered as well.
Got you. Okay.
They cause havoc on our roads. Rental cars cause havoc on our roads. We have enough havoc on our roads with local users.
Right.
Correct?
Yes.
We lose many local people on our roads. Correct?
Well, we said
we have lost some foreigners, visitors on our roads.
Oh, clearly, yes.
You know, are we serious about changing this situation? Or are we just going through the motion of checking the box?
Do you have a comment in terms of, like we said already, that the majority of accidents are related to alcohol or people driving under the influence, right, and speed. What's your comment about alcohol use in Bermuda?
Well, alcohol use, I think that everybody should be tip certified, yes?
And all bartenders have to be tip certified, yes.
They should, but do they use that?
They have to be.
Does anybody check that?
All bartenders have to be tip certified. So if I could just respond, Anthony, I totally understand the caller, in regards to, we have campaigns come out the yin-yang, right? But I put it back on, and I'm not saying you.
Yeah,
but I put it back on the road user.
Yes.
It is important, and this is where our campaign is changing the behavior of the road user. So we can have there's legislation around tips, there's legislation around drunk driving and all of that. But if I decide to as a road user, if I decide to go to bar Magic and have myself a hearty good time with my friends, and I make the choice to get in the car and drive intoxicated, it is me who is causing the issue, and that's what.
But shouldn't the bartender stop you from getting in there?
So if I leave a
pub on Front Street, and they know that you're incapable of getting into a vehicle, and they see you with your keys going there, shouldn't they stop you or try?
Well, yes, they should, but they can't control everything that you do. So if who knows?
Are they all required to be tip certified?
Every bar in Bermuda. If you're working in behind a bar, actually bar and restaurants, if you sell any establishment that sells liquor, has to be tip certified. There are rules around tips. If someone is seemingly intoxicated, they shouldn't sell liquor to them. But again, we cannot we have this thing in our society where we like to pass the buck, pass the blame to somebody else, right? And it's now...
Well, it's the choices that we make. I understand that.
Right, it's a choice that we make. So the responsibility...
We have people looking out for those who don't make the right choices,
most definitely. But I don't know how you're traveling. So I'm going to call you Sarah. So Sarah, I don't know how Sarah's traveling. If I'm a bartender, I don't know how Sarah's traveling. And most people say...
We do. We don't. We know how you're traveling. Whether we're going to do the right thing or we're going to do the wrong thing, it's up to us.
Right. But regardless, the tip certified person is supposed to, when they recognize or believe someone's under influence, to stop serving them.
They know. They know, Anthony. Don't try to...
No. I'm not saying they know. I'm saying that it doesn't matter how they're traveling.
Yeah, so what happens...
We don't know each other.
What happens beyond the doors of that particular bar is on the individual, on the customer, right?
Right.
So I have the choice to get in a taxi. I have a choice to call a friend.
Get in my car.
Or I have a choice to get in the car.
Yes.
And I believe, and we're seeing more and more people are just making that choice to get into their own car. Since I said the responsibility lands with us, with me. I need to change so that we can see change on our roads.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you,
The individual needs to change. I agree.
Yes, clearly.
But we also need to have other things in place to help us, make us change.
What would you suggest, though, Caller?
I think we need a deterrent. I'm not quite sure if the legislation will do it.
Right.
I don't think legislation will change our mindset. There needs to be some sort of reality check to make people change their mindset.
And Caller,
and it's happening frequently, more and more.
Right.
And unless you have been affected by it, then you really don't have skin in the game or don't really care.
Well, hold on a second. What people might not appreciate is that the idea of roadside sobriety checkpoints is to, first of all, let them be random. And by doing so, you get to a point whereby people understand that there's a high chance of being
caught. It
caught.
should be random, and nobody should be notified ahead of time that it's taking place either.
Hold on. I'm telling you
that on every street, not just Sutton Street.
Hold on a minute. What I'm saying to you, though, is what I'm saying to you is that the idea of roadside sobriety checkpoints is, in fact, to change behavior, because overseas, that's what's happened. I don't know, though, right now where we're at in terms of not notifying people, because right now we notify people, even though what happened is, listen, but right now, though, the idea is, in fact, is not about trying to catch you, it's trying to prevent you from drinking. And so that's why they do currently notify people in advance that, guess what, tonight they're going to be roadside sobriety checkpoints, so people would hopefully not drink. That's the idea, to try to change behaviors.
And then they take the other road, which is Harbor Road, to avoid it.
But again, but not to press the point too far. What they do is that
I'm just trying to put a conversation and thought around this situation.
But what they
How many is it going to take for us to lose in order for us to want to change something or make it better?
Well, again, I mean, at some level, we don't want to change, to be honest.
What number are we at now? This is the 5th month in the year. How many?
For this year, I think it's 4 or 5.
I believe we have 5.
But the point is taken. The point is certainly taken, though, because as I said earlier, we've had 108 deaths that could be. We've had 108 deaths that could have been avoided, and so that's where we are.
Next month?
No worries. But what other comments do you have, Caller? Caller, what other comments do you have?
Evening.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just say this, Anthony. We cannot police our way out of bad behavior.
Yes.
Right. Bad behavior is bad behavior.
Hold on, Caller.
It's the same thing when you have a child, right?
Yes.
And you tell your child, you teach your child the right way, you correct the child. But it's a choice that you make, and everything is a choice. And I understand the caller. I understand what you're saying. But, we like to, and I said again, we like to pass the blame. Oh, well, the bar should have this, the bar. No, you should never got in that car intoxicated and driven. You know, let's start there.
Okay, fair enough. And then going back to Mr. Michael there, what do your friends say about that? Like, what would your friends say as young people, or yourself actually for that matter, in terms of what would it take for them to not drink and drive?
Especially in the past, I believe the Road Safety Council had a campaign about not drinking and driving. Like, you could always call someone to come and pick you up. It was not only drinking, but it was also driving while you're tired.
Yes.
Because it can have the same effects as, I believe it was marijuana.
Yes.
And even at our road safety events, we have these goggles called Fatal Vision goggles, and we let the public try them on, and each goggle has a different level of intoxication. So if you look into the goggles, it'll show you what it's like to drive under the influence of either marijuana. I think we have 2 for marijuana, and then it's like 5 for different levels of intoxication.
Well, and what are they called again?
Fatal Vision goggles.
And so if I put on the goggles, it'll tell me, what is that? If I'm intoxicated at level 1, this is my vision?
Yes.
So does it impact your actual vision, or does it impact how you think? Like, how does it actually work? That's brilliant.
It impacts your vision. So you'll put the goggles on, and then we'll have you walk in a straight line, and then you'll see, like, how you wobble and try and keep your balance while you have these goggles on. And it's... We have them. We'll have them at the road safety event, open event at City Hall that we're having in a couple days. So
Okay, and which date is that? You know, this week, right?
Yeah, this week, Wednesday. May 6th.
So if people come, they can put the goggles on and have a real experience as to what it's like to
it's like a real virtual reality simulation type piece, which allows you to see at what levels you can, what it looks like, when you're at that level, intoxication level.
All right, understood.
And Michael spoke to a piece of, marijuana, and we focus on alcohol, intoxicating alcohol. But it's all everything. It's all other drugs.
Yes.
Even people that are fatigued, sick under pharmaceutical drugs, as well as who work long hours and are tired. So those all, in my opinion, falls in the same category. We have to just be mindful of that.
And go back to Michael. I've never been aware of the fatal goggles, as you call them. And interesting also. So there are goggles also for marijuana.
Or
drugs, I guess.
Some marijuana. I believe it's marijuana. They the goggles themselves, they're like the alcohol goggles, but I believe instead of the warped glass, they have pinholes as well. So it's like you're looking through the little pinholes of the goggles.
And if somebody like me wants to just experience it without necessarily, not without, but I mean, or at a time outside of this week, where can I find the goggles? Where are they kept? Or do you guys have them anywhere else?
We really use them at our booth, just to help people, educate people.
Okay.
But our road safety office sits at TCD, Transport Control Department. So if they called and wanted to test these things out, or just take a look, or come and talk to your organization or your group, they can reach out to the road safety office, and they will arrange it and make an appointment.
What is the contact information, please?
Our road safety office is 292-1271. 292-1271.
Okay.
That's TCD. You can just ask for the road safety officer, as well as we're on Instagram's, Facebook as Bermuda Road Safety Council. Our email address is bdarcs, I believe, @gmail.com. Or they can email the easier one, chairman@roadsafety.bm. And if they forget all of that, you go to our website, roadsafety.bm, and it has a contact us page on there.
That's brilliant. And that's interesting, because I know that last caller, I'll come to you in a second. There was a comment in terms of right now, when it's under the influence, we talk about more alcohol, and that you have the alcohol analyzer. The question is or was, do we have the ability to test for people that are under influence otherwise than alcohol? So if I am high on marijuana, for example, is there any way for the police to test me? How do I get tested for that?
I don't think the sobriety test that. I think that will have to be a blood test, but I can confirm that for you.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, caller, for your patience. What's your question or comment?
My comment is, good evening to everyone.
Good evening.
They should not allow children under the age of 16 to be riding their electric bikes, because it's very dangerous. The 16-year-olds, before they get on the road, they have to take a test. They have to learn road safety. They have to study. These little children who are underage, they have no respect for the road. And I've seen when I've driven, people, these little children, popping wheelers, in and out of traffic, driving inside of traffic, not stopping to the stop sign, popping wheelers across the stop sign. Everybody's got to stop again across the street. Just this week, I saw this man riding his bike, and this little child, he looked about 4, maybe no more than 7. On an electric bike with his daddy was on an electric bike, and they was going around the corner by Sally B. What is going on?
Gotcha.
No, you shouldn't. You want an electric bike when it's taught you right, then you use a park. Go somewhere in an area that's not on the road.
And caller?
I think they need to ban all these electric bikes off the road, because the children that are riding them do not have proper understanding of road safety.
But two things, caller. Would you then support the idea of them getting a license just as you do at age 16 to ride those electric bikes?
No, I don't want them on the road, period.
But why?
It's a period where you look forward to getting 16 to getting on the road. You used to try to ride on bikes before they're 5, 7.
Well, but
there's no rules.
But an 8-year-old can legally ride a paddle bike on the road.
Okay, well, ride a paddle bike.
And
but
then
no, I don't think they should be electric bikes. I don't think they should be on the road.
Okay, fair enough.
That's my opinion.
Thank you, Cola.
That's how I feel.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Okay, well.
Bye-bye.
I do want to say that some of the electric vehicles currently, electric bikes currently do come under the Pedal Cycle Act as well. Mm-hmm. So there is some legislation around that, and I think that should be come to enforcement. Having the police and the courts enforce these particular laws when it comes to ticketing someone. There is we have talked about, and there is an increased in children under the age of 16 riding these electric bikes, yes. Right? But again, some of it comes under the Pedal Cycle Act, but it goes, and I don't mean to sound like a broken record, right? Yes. But someone's got to buy that bike for their kid.
Yes.
So we need to parent our kids and instruct our kids and make sure that they are not doing things that are not responsible on the roads, and maybe taking them to the park and then they ride, or take them to the cycle area and then they ride these particular bikes open field or a lot, so they can ride these bikes and not necessarily ride on the road. But if they're riding on the road, because sometimes the kids may use the pedal bikes to get to their to the schools. Yeah. I know that I think in middle school you can ride your pedal bike to school, as well as club or play, football, netball, those type of things. They might ride their bikes to get around.
I wasn't aware that you cannot ride a pedal bike to primary school for that matter. I didn't know that was any restriction.
I don't know. Is it?
I don't know. I was surprised.
I'm not sure.
You said middle school. I'm surprised.
Yeah, I don't know about primary school. I know that middle school you can ride a pedal bike. I don't know if you can do that in the primary school.
Sure. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Do you have any comments, Michael?
Not at the moment, no.
Okay, no problem. Let's see. And someone's asking questions in terms of, are there any accidents or how many rental car accidents are there? And that information actually does exist. And I'll refer to it as we're going through. I'll look at it and see what that information is. But it's interesting that one moment, I'll go to the caller first and I'll come back. I'm going to ask about the emphasis on personal responsibility, because a lot of times we get to the point that you've been saying already, right? Oh, legislate, oh, police, whatever. As opposed to, no, it starts with us. So everybody listening right now can do something tomorrow themselves.
Yes, today.
Today, exactly. Good evening, caller. Thank you for your patience. What's your question or comment?
Yes, it's me again. I think that point system that we put in place, is really spoiled the privilege in which that you've been given by TCD to be on the road. To have a license to be on the road is a privilege, and it could be revoked by a traffic officer, I think, by law at any time they see you riding without due care or driving without due care. Even your car is not even in the proper condition that it should be in to be on the roads. I think there's some legislation that's already in place where they can have you to bring that car or bike, especially for the large sound bikes, to be brought back to be tested, because you can't pass a bike with that muffler on and making that noise. You'll stay inside the road. You got this ripping and tearing coming across your window. But I think the point system in which that we put in place has spoiled everyone, and that's something that's still legislated. And I think we should look at ways for introducing what it was like back in the day. In the sense, if you was riding without due care or disqualified from riding, or you were speeding at a limit where they thought it was a little bit too much, you would be taken off the road for 2 or 3 months or whatever the case may be. And I think they should go back and look at that. It's already there. And of course, the point system is just give you a mindset that, okay, I'm not gonna get taken off the road. and lose their privilege because there's a point system like that. But I think if it was because in those times back then, not to look at the privileges that people would have, I knew they need bikes or cars to get to work and this and that.
Exactly.
It could be legislated where you only could use your vehicle, particularly during that time of doing work, not to be too hard on everybody or whatever. But after those hours, you should not be allowed to do it. Like I said, the legislation is already there. We just need to put it back in place in the sense of using it for what it was for back in the day. I know people don't like to hear about back in the day, but that's where it was more secured than, or was more respectable than on the road. Because if you knew you did something and it was seen by a police officer or whoever, you would be, or you got caught speeding, if you was over that limit of 60, 70, 80 kilometers, you were taken off the road for 3 months or whatever. And of course, another thing that should happen, if you're taken off the road, you should come back and reapply for your license.
Right, which you do.
All together.
Yes, sir.
Anyhow, I'll leave it at that. But the legislation is there. We just need to reenact it back again. Thank you very much.
Got you. Well, the lines are lighting up. I'll take this call and I'll come back to you. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Good evening, gentlemen. I'm inquiring, how much are those bikes?
We have no idea. I have no idea offhand.
They range anywhere from $2,000-$3,000 up to $6,000, $7,000, depending on the bike you get.
Because you see some young people riding them, and I just wondered, do you have to pay for those bikes to be on the road?
Yes.
And do you have to be licensed?
Not licensed, no.
No. So there are different bikes. For instance, you can actually even rent an electric pedal bike. So there are different electric bikes on currently now, but they range anywhere from $2,000, $1,500 to
not cheap,
$6,000 to $7,000.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And just to advise also that for electric bikes, you cannot rent an electric bike beyond a certain age, because to rent an electric bike, you have to have insurance.
Yes.
And the insurance does specify the age limit, and so it's not anybody that can do that. And so going back to Michael, do you ever ride electric bike?
No, I don't ride an electric bike. One of my friends does have an electric bike, and they allowed me to ride it at one point. But other than that, no.
Gotcha. Did you like it, or what was the difference for you?
It was it could definitely get you from point A to point B, but it just wasn't for me.
Okay.
I just prefer like a normal pedal bike.
Even though you're young, you prefer the old-fashioned one to go under your own steam, as they say. So I got you. Understood. Alrighty. And to go to our alternatives here, when the caller said in terms of the point system, again, it's about behavior, and sometimes I think we forget about the basis of legislation.
Yeah.
And so before, you would just basically, if you were speeding, you get a ticket, go to court, and basically get off the road. And they changed that at some point to the ticket system. Part of it was because we socially had some concerns about who is mostly impacted by that. And it came back to, in Bermuda, the context is that black males were most likely to be off the road, and they get into a cycle. Whereas, just like Michael said, that right now you catch a bus or your mother takes you, that means it's required much more planning and it's less convenient. And therefore, I lose my license. Sometimes I lose my job, not because the person fires me, but because I can't get there efficiently. And so therefore, we put in place a different system to try to modify behavior as opposed to going off the road. And so I think, to the caller's point, sometimes we forget what happens to get us where we are. I don't know right now, though, if the point system has caused us to be more reckless because I'm not going off the road right away or not. And so that's a comment, I guess, a question for someone else to be able to answer.
I have to say that, which is why, I do agree with the fact that, the penalties and the have to be a little bit more enforced. There's always room for improvement. Yeah, and it sits with the magistrates.
Yes.
And I believe that it could be a little bit more stiffer penalties. And there are times where people go beyond the 12 points and are still allowed to be on the road, right? So I think it's we have to be a little bit more stiff with the penalties. There have been suggestions on re-licensing education programs.
Yes.
That after you go past a certain point level, that you have to retake a test or retake an exam. Those are all things that the council has on the table to put legislation to.
That's quite interesting. Okay. And just to clarify, by the way, for one of my listening audience, and I smile because they are known to be quite analytical. Just to clarify, so the comment was that there have been about 13,000 collisions in the past 10 years, which equates to about 1,300 per year, which equates to about 100 per month. And so that's the stats for 2015 to 24. Just to clarify, we don't have 3,000 per month. It's about 100 per month, I guess. And we're also talking about sometimes we're trying to specify in terms of serious collisions as opposed to the total collisions, because that's a big difference also.
And those are also collisions that have been reported.
Yes.
Because some people may not report the particular collision if it's, just between the driver, the two drivers.
Yes.
So those are that have been reported that. So the number can be a little bit higher, actually.
Yeah, and now what happens is we've changed it such that even when it comes to damage only, you're right, they don't all get reported.
Yeah.
And so again, my reference is 2014 to 2024. Sorry, 2015 to 2024, because I didn't have the full information for the last 2 years, and that's why so it was easier to make sure we got full information. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Hey, good evening. This is Dr. Doling. How are you this evening?
Yes, sir. Dr. Doling, how are you?
Good. So I came back to Bermuda in 2002, and I actually sat on the Road Safety Council for some years.
Wow.
So unfortunately, I'm hearing a lot of the same things that we heard then still kind of an issue now, and we're now 24 years out. The hugest problem we had back then was anything that we saw as a problem still had to become a political issue, and we know politics works very differently than reality sometimes. So it might have been, the idea of saying, okay, we're going to start checking people at different stops, that we're not going to tell you where the stop is for alcohol, that was pushed a long time ago, but it was not politically savvy to enforce that. The dark visors, not politically savvy. A lot of these things, politics tends to get in the way of activating it. So, the Road Safety Council can come up with all the greatest ideas in the world, but unless the politicians are ready to put it into action and take the hit, because, people don't like the idea of, say, for instance, zero, if you are caught at a certain thing, you get your bike taken from you. People don't like that idea whatsoever.
Yes.
I think nowadays with these electric vehicles, because I also have seen issues with the electric bike. I've seen issues with the regular motorcycles, overtaking on the inside and the outside. I'm praying for these guys as they're coming for me in my lane, even though they're coming from the opposite direction. So you can't. The problem becomes, I think, a lot of times, at least from a medical point of view, is the brain is very addicted to a lot of different things, and speed is definitely one of them. And a lot of these young guys, however you...
One second, Dr. Dolan. You're a bit muffled. Are you able to clarify that a little bit? Come a little bit clearer to your mic or something?
Hold on. Let me take it off speaker. How about now?
Much better. Go ahead.
Got you, yeah. So I think, unfortunately, speed is a very addictive property that most people, once you start in a car or a bike and you feel that speed, it hits those dopamine, and you're going to have a hard time controlling yourself. And young people don't have great executive functioning to be able to control themselves. That's going to be a problem. You can't legislate that. The minute they get on there and feel that power, they're going to want more power. And, unfortunately, there are some people who are going to be victims of their own self. And you can't blame the bartender, you can't blame the Road Safety Council, because we have laws already. Sometimes, why are we making new laws when we're not even being able to enforce the laws we have?
Got you.
So at some point, there's going to be some responsibility that person has to take of themselves. And it's gonna end up, unless we decide we're gonna either push the speed limit up. I do believe that every bike that has a motor should have some form of license that we can identify it, so that if we do see somebody acting crazy, we can at least make a note and report that to whomever. But the Road Safety Council can make that decision, but it still has to be the politicians that make it happen.
Sure. Before you go, Dr. Darling, do you have any comments in terms of injuries that children endure as a result of being on the front of bikes?
I mean, I think probably you haven't heard a lot of injuries, and I think that's just angels watching over it, because obviously children can be thrown quite a big distance.
Yes.
And it's almost like you're waiting for the first one, so there's not going to be a second one. I would like to be able to see something put into law to make that first one a lot harder to do. But we say that about the guys that sit in the back of the trucks. How many times we still see that when they're driving?
Yeah, okay.
That truck starts suddenly, those guys are going to go flying. But
sure.
I don't know what to say. At some point, we have no choice. We have to either make decisions and take responsibility and do a whole lot of prayer for these
sure.
young people. So.
And interesting, though, your comment in terms of the brain functioning, in terms of like speed, for example, being something that once I get used to it, there is you didn't use this word, but for me, an addiction as such.
Oh, very much so. Very much so. I realize that every time I go from here to the States when I'm driving, I notice how low I will start driving because I'm used to a certain speed. But once I get a feel for that road and my foot can go a little further, by the time I'm leaving, I'm back up to like everybody else, 65, 75 miles an hour, and it doesn't feel uncomfortable or nerve-wracking or anything like that. So it's just the way your brain gets accommodated to it. So you have to be able to at least, I do believe, I think the reality is that we function off of either negative or positive behaviors. So what the positive behavior of driving fast is the dopamine. What is going to be the negative to stop you from doing it? Unless there is a punishment that is extreme enough so that if you get caught once, your bike gets taken from you, or, money. I don't know if an extreme thing, you go to mama or daddy, borrow some money, and you keep on the road.
Right.
So, you have to make it such that people really feel the pain of doing what they feel is good to them.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Not a problem. Have a good evening.
You too. Okay, bye-bye.
It's interesting about the whole brain thing. And it's very true. I remember when I was, Dr. Dunn talked about when he goes away. I remember when I was away in school, and I'll come here for Christmas break or summer break, and I get in the car, and, automatically I'm just like, ooh. And my mom would say to me all the time, "You are not in America. Yes. Stop speeding." And I'm like, well, I'm not speeding because it feels natural.
Yes.
Right? So we have to really train the mind, to say, and it's almost like someone, and sorry to use this analogy, who is, addicted to drugs, Once they get to one high, they want to either feel the high again or go to the next level. So we really have to train the mind to want to,
sure,
slow it down a little bit.
Well, I would say that's interesting comment from Dr. Garland there in terms of that means, so if I'm overseas for a period of time, driving a car, which I rent a car all the time, when you come back to Bermuda, there may be, now that he said that, right, a mental thought, a mental pause says, okay, fine, Anthony, I'm getting in the car in Bermuda now, slow down. Yeah. Because I just got off the plane, and before that I was driving at, 70 miles an hour, for example. And so, again, that's an interesting comment for all of us. When you're overseas, you travel, when you come back, just give that conscious thought that driving from the airport to home, slow down. So pause and consciously say that, slow down because I'm not overseas anymore. To listen audience again, thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening. We're talking road safety tonight, because this is Road Safety Week. Well, yeah, Road Safety Week for sure. And the emphasis is on personal responsibility. Each of us can do something to improve Bermuda's road safety tonight if you're driving, or tomorrow if you're driving. And so let's let it start with us. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
I was just smiling, man, when the good doctor mentioned how when you're driving and you're used to something, your body wants to do it.
Yes.
I was thinking of when we come back from traveling, you got to be careful you don't make a mistake and drive on the right.
Yes.
If you've been in the U.S., because I remember that happened to me once. It happened for about 50 yards. I was like, hey, boy, it's amazing how the mind works if you don't make a conscious effort to think about things.
Yes.
One of the things I was wanted to talk about is people that are walking or jogging or running on the road. And I mentioned it in 3 speeds because what I've learned over the years is depending on how slow you're moving or how fast you're moving in this exercise area, you may have to make slightly different adjustments when you're dealing with Bermuda's road. In general, internationally, they teach you to walk against traffic.
Yes.
But as we know in Little Bermuda, where it could be quite complex sometimes, you may be endangered in certain areas walking against the traffic, especially if it's a narrow road with a high wall. Because there's no escape if the motorist doesn't notice you up against the wall.
Yes.
So you're better off to make a decision to go with the traffic in that case, unless you're in a situation where there's 2 high walls, and I haven't really come across that.
Yes, understood.
By Roberto Healy, being between those walls. But now they're created a bit of a sidewalk, which is helpful. For one little area, you're still stuck in that predicament. But
understood.
I would tell pedestrians to be witty in Bermuda, and in general, where you can, go against the traffic and use your common sense. And in other areas, you probably have to break the international rule and run with the traffic.
Well, again, certainly common sense must prevail.
Yeah, if you're not fast, if you're not moving fast, when I was a top runner, obviously moving fast with the traffic was never a problem.
No worries. Back in the day, so no worries.
Yeah, I was like a Velo Solex. It was a little different, but
okay. All right.
As you slow down, you find you have to think more about that to help the motorist out.
Yes. All right.
And of course, other than the reflective situations and all that. And the other thing is a question to the Road Safety Council, because I see them running a lot of advertisements. I never see advertisements telling the motorist that it's against the law to drive with the high beam on.
That's a good point. We always talk about that.
Yeah, some things need to be said because we just take it for granted that people know the law.
Yes.
And the reality is, I was speaking to a motorist the other day. He says, "I didn't know you can't drive with your high beam." I said, "How could you not know that?" But
all right. But let
sometimes people have to be reminded. The other thing is... a
lot of other things today, but go ahead.
Well, an advertisement being helpful in the area of reminding people that it's a privilege to have a license to drive on the road. I think people really forget that sometimes.
Okay.
They think, they tell you, get out of my way, and not realizing, no, really, you're driving a motorized vehicle. You're going to stop for the pedestrian or whoever, that's crossing the road.
Okay.
You know it when you're in Hamilton, but when you get out of Hamilton, suddenly you don't realize it.
All right, thanks, Mike.
All right.
Appreciate that. Yes.
All right. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Kip. Bye. That's a good comment. A question in terms of with the newer cars, the high beams come on, I guess, almost automatically, and they do cause an issue. Is there any move afoot to try to change that or reduce that?
So I think there is a few issues in regards to the lighting. So let's go to when you buy a car. That car goes to TCD for its first test, and the lights, they test the lights, and I believe that the piece of equipment that used to test the lights wasn't working correctly.
Was not
working correctly.
Oh, okay.
So you couldn't really get an accurate test on the lights. So now TCD has, you may have seen the adverts done a revamp in the examination rooms, where it's all they've increased the technology, so it's all done systematically. So all of the testing has to go through a systematic, and testing the lights is one of the things that make sure that it's the right level, because you can change the level, the brightness level, I'll say, on the lights, from the mechanic level. So they have to dial it down to reach a certain level. I don't remember offhand what that level is. So when you get your car tested, they make sure that your car is at that particular level. There is some cars that do flick on auto feature when you go into dark areas or whatever. But that's the auto feature that you actually turn on because you can turn that auto feature off when you turn your lights on and off.
But like overseas, okay.
Yeah, you could turn that. You could turn it. You could turn it off for auto feature or manual.
Okay.
But we have to just be, we have to just remember that. Listen, if a car's coming up, that we have to, maybe dim our lights down.
That's interesting. Okay.
But yeah, and also how the lights hit the road. So you could also change, I believe, the positioning.
Actual pitch. Okay.
The pitch of the light as well. So those are all things that, you will now be seeing in examinations. So you're gonna hear people start complaining now that examinations take a little bit longer. But that's because how the testing equipment now that they have goes through the systematic to make sure that the car is in the right.
So has that been a recent introduction?
Recent, yeah, I believe is that actually. If it wasn't May 1st because we made there. I think it was in April.
So this year?
This year.
So as of now, if you get your car tested, they're going to test it differently, especially in terms of these lights.
Yes.
That's good. Okay. Yeah. That's good. And I keep smiling because Michael said he doesn't ride a bike, but you have lots of friends that do so.
Yeah.
Do they complain to you or comment to you in terms of the lights on cars being too bright?
Yes, especially the cars with the LED light strips going across them. The LEDs are really causing a problem out there, like with how bright they are, especially. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. Because I mean, it is a challenge in terms if you're driving along, and then suddenly, especially when you come to the crest of a hill, and the car's coming towards you, if the lights are on high, or you think they're on high, you have to actually slow down or something because it can be dangerous. And so, what I was surprised at is that the distributors, the people that sell the cars, would not be required to make sure those cars are compliant before they sell them. And I take the point, Mr. Watson says it all the time in terms of the brightness of the lights. In some respects, common sense should prevail because if I'm driving towards you, if my high beam's on, I dim them anyway because it's going to blind you.
Right.
But with these cars doing it automatically, that's quite interesting. And from your point of view, like overseas, you can't put the cars on auto or not. Yeah. And it's going to be interesting in terms of do we get to a point whereby we get the manufacturer or the distributor to not let the auto be functional? Can you disable it, for example, for safety purposes?
Possibly, but it's just like on my car. It's as I turn the light on, I could choose auto or I could choose. Now my car, it doesn't have the feature to do high beams, but the lights come on and off as feel necessary. Some of the more modern cars do have that high beam option, but I believe that you can change that in the settings in some cars.
Yes,
where it takes that feature off.
Okay. Well, again, to the listening audience, sorry. Thank you for joining us here on Magic 102.7 your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. We're having a good conversation tonight about for the Bermuda Road Safety Council. And our guests this evening are Mr. Antonio Roberts, who is the chair. And I want to say this, and Michael Scott, who is the chair also. The senior chair, I want to call you, and the junior chair of the junior chamber. So it's interesting, again, even for the listening audience, right, to may not understand that there is a junior component of the Road Safety Council. And again, I'll say this. I'm excited to know that you are a young person involved and engaged because when Craig Otterbeach was here the other week, he talked about the fact also you guys have real input to the process. It's not just, be there and do nothing. And then Mr. Roberts did say that you have representation from several schools, not all the schools, but you do include the senior schools.
Yes, so we have representation from Cedar Bridge, both public schools, as well as Bermuda Institute.
And this being Road Safety Week, you want to give a rundown again about what's happening each day?
Yeah, so Road Safety Week, we have quite a bit planned throughout the council. I say this and laugh at the call that came a little earlier. We have a number of campaigns this week that focuses on our Operation Action, change of mind, change of behaviors. So it focuses on safe road users, safe vehicles, safe road users, safe vehicles. So Monday, tomorrow, we will actually be going to the schools. We're going to a few of the preschools and primary schools to talk to the children about pedestrian safety and those things. We also be giving out a road safety book that's been authored by our road safety officer for children to understand the best things about being safe on the roads. And then Tuesday, we have we're going to be on some radio interviews and some news interviews. Mm-hmm. Wednesday, we have our launch event, which is be at City Hall from 12 p.m. to 2 p.m. And that event, you will hear from a number of the stakeholders around road safety. You hear from the Bermuda Police Services, the Minister will be speaking, Transport Control Department speaking, fire, the hospital, as well as we have some vendors that will be in the space, and we will have All Shores will be there, talking about their middle department as well. I believe that's life insurance. We have Gina Spence Productions who will be doing talking about grief.
Yes, okay.
They have the grief tent. Mm-hmm. We have some other fire service will be there, and I believe Bermuda Hospitals boards will be there as well. Mm-hmm. We're also going to have some entertainment by the West Pembroke School, as well as the Wood School. So just be almost like a little fair at City Hall, focusing on road safety.
Yeah. And out in the courtyard?
In the courtyard, on the lawn at City Hall.
Gotcha.
And then on Friday, we're having a mocktail happy hour. So the point of the mocktail happy hour is to encourage people to enjoy themselves, wine dog on a Friday, enjoy themselves but not get intoxicated. And that will be at the Wine Cellar, sponsored by Gosling's.
Great, sorry.
Gosling's has a number of mocktail drinks, non-alcoholic drinks. They'll be showcasing all of their non-alcoholic drinks. And
so I'll say this, right? Because, normally, there's going to be a cocktail hour. People go to cocktail hour on Fridays, right? You have a mocktail, you say. And the question I have is, given the similarity, are you not potentially introducing the idea that right now I'm too young to have a cocktail, so I have a mocktail, but I'm getting used mentally to go to a cocktail later?
The children are not invited to our mocktail. This is all for adults.
So you're having an adult mocktail, alcohol-free mocktail event.
Yes.
Well, I wouldn't say a cocktail event, but with no alcohol.
No alcohol.
Right.
So again, it's encouraging, adults that you can go and have a grand time. You can go to a party and have a grand time and not have to drink until your soul is content. But you can have nice, flavorful, tasty drinks. You can have non-alcoholic wine. You can have non-alcoholic beer. So, there's things that you can have and still enjoy yourself.
It's interesting. And, I was smart at this in terms of it's interesting about culturally, it's almost as if I cannot have a good time, quote unquote, unless I'm under the influence.
Yeah.
And so, again, going back to Michael, how do your friends interact or react or talk about drug use or alcohol use or being under the influence and the fun, quote unquote, of drinking and driving? Or how do they try to be responsible if they are drinking or driving, or what do they do? How do you manage that?
I personally don't drink, but I know some people who do drink, and whenever they're going out to drink, we always remind each other you should be in a safe environment while you're doing it, be around people you trust and everything. And
why is that?
While you're drinking, you should always be around someone you should first know your own limit. You shouldn't be going out every night and getting hammered, because you never know what could happen while you're under the influence. And
it's interesting. Okay,
it's important that we're just safe while we're enjoying ourselves as well. We all want to have fun, but it becomes a problem when we're not able to regulate that fun and understand there is a limit to what you can actually handle. So.
And how do you get to know what your limit is? How do you measure that?
How would you measure that? I feel like you would you know, like I said before, just be in a safe environment while you're having fun, and just try not to drink too much. So.
Is it possible to have fun without being under the influence?
Most definitely. A couple years ago, I had gone to one of my best friend's parties. They were having a mocktail party, and we had a wonderful time without like being any alcohol there. You know, we were still underage, so we weren't drinking or anything. But we were still able to have a very good time without like being under the influence of any kind of alcohol or anything. Oh.
And I'm smiling. That's the message, you know, that unfortunately I think, whether it be culturally or otherwise, people think that they cannot have fun unless they are drunk or unless they've been drinking. And you know that you go and I must have a drink. No, you don't have to have a drink. It's okay. And if you're the only person that doesn't drink, that's okay too. It's not necessary to really drink. You know, you don't have to.
And I feel like with our friends, especially like us young people, we have to definitely hold our friends accountable. Like when it comes to unsafe behaviors on the road, when it comes to alcohol or being under the influence of anything else, we have to hold our friends accountable. We have to understand that sure, these things happen, but we need to do these activities in a safe manner and a manner that's not going to cause harm to you or those around you.
Okay.
And I believe it goes beyond the young people as well. We as adults have to hold our friends and hold our people accountable. One of the things that the Road Safety Council pushes is having a transportation plan. Even when we speak to those that are party promoters about having things in place for those who are drinking. Carter used to.
Still do Anthony's and Tuesday.
Yes, Carter's does a taxi. They offer taxis on Fridays, I believe, for those who are intoxicated. They could take a taxi ride home. So enforcing those transportation plans and planning ahead. Maybe scheduling a taxi, scheduling a shuttle for your friends to get home safely. It's just that going the extra mile to make sure that everyone's safe.
It's interesting. And to go back a bit, by the way, there's a comment in terms of whether it be yourselves or the Road Safety Council, is there any intent to get cars re-examined? Because you said that the testing equipment is now better or improved from, let's say, February or March or whatever it was. But if my car got passed in January, for example, right now I'm on the road with my lights not working properly or they're too high. So is there any thought about causing those cars to come back and be re-examined?
That will be something that that falls on the TCD remit.
Okay.
But I think that all the cars will go through that re-examination process at some point in the next 12 months. So yeah. Okay. I think it'd be a lot to re-examine every car.
Well, again, I mean, you said that, but it's safety first.
Safety first, definitely. I think each car to be re-examined will be re-examined over the next 12 months.
Got you.
You'll see that.
Sure. And just for the listening audience, do you have anybody on the council that they may not tell us right now, but do you know if it exists in terms of the demographics of accidents and fatalities? And what I mean by that, of course, is going to be, do we know what age category is mostly impacted? Because we act as if it's young people. I don't think that's the case. And so it'd be nice to know, for example, what are the various age categories, and male, female, black, white, all this kind of thing, so we have better information, so we can better talk to the prevention.
We can. I think we can break down that information. I don't know how far down we can get. I don't know if it gets into race.
Sure.
But we can definitely see male, female. I know that I looked at a report last year. If I looked at my phone hard enough, I might be able to find it. The report last year that spoke to age categories.
Okay.
And interesting enough, we saw a lot of accidents. I believe it was last year. A lot of accidents were, I think the highest number for accidents was 65 plus. 55 plus. You saw a lot of accidents in that age category. And the under 25s were actually the lowest category in road traffic accidents. It was the 30s and up, between the age of 30 and 55. That was a high number of accident numbers.
Well, I'll be interested in seeing that because, it's even from the last show we did, we act as if the majority of accidents are caused by young people, say under 20. And even right now, tonight we're talking about those that ride electric bikes. But if the fact is that the majority of accidents occur with persons older, then maybe licensing electric bikes is not an issue.
Yeah,
look at that.
And when you think about those that are driving under the influence as well, the ages are higher than 25. It's not the young people that's breaking the rules; it's the working class.
Okay,
that's breaking the rules.
When you say the working class, you mean people that are working age? People.
Working age, yes. Okay. Sorry, not working class. Working age.
Because obviously everybody does drink when they're ready. Yes. Can you provide any more information about? You said there is a road safety book.
Yeah, so there was a book that was authored by the road safety officer for kids that breaks down road safety and pedestrian safety and how they should cross the roads as a child. Look left, look right. It starts at the preschool age on teaching them how to be good pedestrians.
Okay.
So the book it goes through that. It's a interactive book. Sorry, not interactive, but it's a nice book. It's going right down to their level. Nice
it's like a children's book.
It's a children's book, yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
For children to read, on road safety, as well as they have a coloring book that speaks to some of the road safety campaigns that we're doing as well.
And the book's available for sale, or how do children get it?
We are going through the schools, and we'll give them away. But if a parent wanted to get a book, they can call TCD and ask the road safety office, and we can arrange to get them a book.
Okay.
Also, they can come to Wednesday of the event. We will have them at the event as well.
Yeah, that's why I wrote it down from that note there.
Yes.
A question came in, and I trust you're able to do this, which is, can you explain the correct operation of the traffic coming off the roundabout on East Broadway in the morning?
Ooh, I hate that question.
No, you don't. You can't hate that question. That's a good question.
Well, it's Craig, because the question came up last time.
Yes, exactly. He answered the question.
He did answer the question.
And you good?
Let's see.
His answer is, go ahead.
The answer is, so when you're, I'll say it this way. If you're coming out of Harbor Road,
the lane, yes.
The lane, you're supposed to stay in that first lane, in that left lane.
Yes.
If you're coming off of Trimmingham Hill, you stay on that right lane. And something I learned, interestingly enough, you can't cross.
Correct.
There's legislation to crossing. So once whatever lane you come off, you stay in that lane.
Yes,
that's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, and so that's interesting, caller, message wise, because that's what he said, and I think the reason why the question's being asked is because so many times there's hesitation and it causes a delay or backlog at the roundabout, and it shouldn't, because cars should not be changing lanes. You come off the lane, you stay left all the way through, stay in that lane all the way through, and the same if you're coming off of Trimmingham Hill. But clearly people then will at least indicate and cross over further in, but you're not supposed to cross lanes at the roundabout. And so I guess the good comment would be, if you're coming over whatever lane you come off of, stay in that lane until at least you get past the Johnny Barnes statue.
Yes, I actually think that
no challenge.
I don't know the exact point, but I actually don't think that you can cross lanes until you get to where BUI is.
Okay, further up.
Once you cross that band, you can cross lanes after that band, I believe.
Gotcha, fair enough. But again, the main point is certainly do not come off the hill or come off the lane and change lanes in that area, because that causes congestion and likely to actually cause an accident. So for those that are on Facebook, I think I've answered all of your questions. Let me just make sure. Many comments about the lights on cars, but we've addressed that in terms of there'll be additional testing. And so also, for those that have those cars, there's no reason why you can't make the adjustments now, and certainly take your lights, make sure that your lights are not on auto function, because that is quite dangerous. Good evening, caller. Thank you for joining us here on Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, good evening.
Yes, sir.
Gentlemen. Yes, I'm going to speak on 2 points, I think. Maybe just one. But okay. Recently, there was an accident at CouncilThe Bridge. A motorbike coming from the west struck the car that was coming out of the old CouncilThe Bridge post office.
Yes.
And then you when one is in the post office, and then they want little post office, and they want to come out, I am stressing that an arrow be put in place as an arrow is put in place that takes a right angle turn for when you want to go towards Somerset coming out of the post office. And that arrow is to the very left of the exit, and not in the middle of that wide exit, but be to the very far left, so that the person wanting to turn right to go towards the bridge, you can see the traffic better than it is coming out of Somerset, coming across that Somerset Bridge itself.
Gotcha. Understood.
I would love for you, real estate people, to take a look at it and see if my suggestion through my neighbor is viable.
Gotcha. That's a good question. Hold on one second.
I think they changed because it used to be the other way around. Mm-hmm. The exit and entrance used to be the other way around. So I think, don't quote me, but I think there is a sign there that speaks to the exit and the entrance of that gate.
So if you're coming from St. George's, you go past the first gate to the second gate to turn in? So you turn in
coming from there's one exit, one entrance. Mm-hmm. So the one with the bigger gate, I believe, is the entrance, and the other one is the exit.
Okay. Well, Cole, that's a very particular point, and so I guess we should need to check and see exactly what you. But I see what you're saying, that you need to have more visibility to avoid any collision. But what's your second point, Cola?
Okay. Second one is I believe Mr. Roberts has said the vehicle coming from Trimmingham Hill through the roundabout stays to the right until further up the road. I believe that's what he said.
Yes.
One person mentioned as far as Johnny Burns, and another person, and did Ms. Roberts say as far as BUEI before you move to the left lane, if you want to go to the left lane.
And actually, Cole, you know what we should do is, rather than speculate, you just check the signs yourself to make sure. Because I got another message that says that if you're coming off the lane, there's a sign that says give way. And so let's pause on that commentary and let's look at the actual signs to see exactly what it says.
Correct.
Rather than trying to speculate tonight.
Yeah, okay. Well, coming from Everfeldy, they just until 9:30 in the morning, they just keep to the left and carry through.
Right.
After 9:30 in the morning, that's when we stop for the traffic coming from Trimmingham Hill.
Correct.
After 9:30.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah,
again, I would encourage everyone, which is very basic, is to look at the signs and do what the signs say. Not just at the Curly Lane roundabout, but everywhere in Bermuda. All right?
Okay, fine.
Thank you.
Can we just go back to the question was asked about is there a test for cannabis?
Anything other than alcohol, yes.
It has to be done by blood. The test has to be done by blood. So we find that those tests are only done for serious collisions. They can demand, the police can demand a blood without a serious collision if they
can or cannot.
They can if they find that, if they suspect that the person has been using cannabis or anything, especially if they smell the burn of weed or smell it on them, they can demand a blood test. Mm-hmm. But blood is the only way to catch that test. So it's not like the breathalyzer where you can blow in the machine. You actually have to take that test by blood.
Okay. All right. Thank you, caller, for clarifying that. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Insight. What's your question or comment?
Yeah, just looking at that. Good evening once again, gentlemen. Just looking at that test you just mentioned.
Don't worry. Just be very concise. We're getting to the end of the hour now. Go ahead.
Okay. When it comes to the marijuana thing, now the marijuana.
But we've answered that though in terms of can it be done by blood test?
Yeah, it could be done. Okay, but I'm saying that doesn't mean that you were under the influence during the time that they may give you a test, because it's a drug that would stay in your system or be in your system for a certain amount of time.
Understood.
And you may not have smoked it yet, but if you smoke it, the TLC or whatever it is that's in it would get in your bloodstream and stay there until you detox it out. But it doesn't mean that you just finished smoking a joint. You get what I'm saying? If you get your blood test.
Yes, but also, remember, there'll be levels of testing. And so the real point, the point is that when it comes to driving under the influence, a police officer can request a blood test if they suspect that you're under the influence. And that's the way it's done.
I understand that. I'm not denying that, but I'm just saying they can require a blood test.
We understood.
But it still doesn't mean that person was under the influence of that drug during that time, because that drug has a tendency of staying in your bloodstream until you detox it out.
Okay. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Yeah, the call is correct.
But I think the point is that...
Yeah, if they feel like there's a suspicion, so if I smell it on you, I can request it. It's hard to, it's, a debate in court, but it's.
But again, my comment would be that there must be levels, so that if I smoked marijuana a week ago, it's still in my system, but it should be a different level as opposed to if I done it just now. And then I guess just like alcohol, it's a question of what is the level that's required. And so, again, I don't want to speculate, but it'll be a question of someone that has a factual basis to let us know what's the limit of any other drug besides alcohol in the system that allows you to be determined to be under the influence. Good evening, caller. Welcome to Inside. What's your question or comment?
Good evening. Just concerning the sign at the East Broadway roundabout.
Yes.
I know it says you have to give way to the buses definitely between 7:30 and 9:30 because they have to make that wide turn, and most people stay to the left, come to Harbor Road.
Yes.
Come and they're down the hill, come from Jimiam. That normally seems like the practice to stay to the right. And of course, you're going to try and cut over where you can.
Yes.
Head the on.
Okay.
So
excellent.
That's what I normally see when I pass there.
Brilliant. And again, it's important to look at the signs and follow the instructions because, again, that's good clarification. So thank you very much.
Yeah, and just one other matter when it comes to the accident. Today, when you get in an accident, we call the police. They ask you, is anybody hurt? If nobody's hurt, then they tell you to sort it out yourself. So, like you were saying, a lot of collisions won't be documented.
Yes.
And, like people, I've been knocked off my bike. To me, the person should be up for due care because you're overtaking a line of traffic. I'm making a right turn, and then the next thing, I'm on the ground. And you call the police. They're like, anybody hurt? Then sort yourselves out. We both got hurt, but not hurt enough to go to the hospital.
Well, but what But what did you do though in terms of the damage to the bikes?
Oh, right. Well, because it was his fault, he has to pay. So you call the insurance company, but I did call the police, but they just said, "Oh, you have to, sort it out yourself." So of course, I his ID. He was a young man passing traffic that was nicely stopped.
Right.
Because I got ready to turn, but no, he wants to keep overtaking everything, and then he says, "Oh, he didn't see me."
Got you.
Because you're speeding, and then it was too late for you to stop.
Got you. But just to clarify, but you were able to stop. You were able to get information such that at the end of the day, you were reimbursed your costs.
Well, I'm still waiting for parts to come in.
Okay.
Through the the company that's bringing in the parts, then to the insurance company. Of course, I asked him for his ID.
Yes, good, okay.
Since I became the policewoman.
And take pictures. That's important also.
Yeah, so, he's asking me, do I want my mirror? The mirror's broken off of the bike. I'm like, I can't do that.
Yes, understood. But thank you. Appreciate that.
Well, it's like, thank God we were seriously hurt.
Correct.
But the point is, it's not documented, and to me, he should be up for due care of attention.
But again, that's understood.
Yeah. But that's how it is. They say take it in, sort it out yourself.
Got you.
But nobody's physically ill.
But thank you, caller. Appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you now. Have a nice day.
Okay.
Just to clarify, even though the police don't come out, you can actually still make a police report.
Yes.
So you can go to the police station, make a police report, or call and make a police report. And you could say, well, if you feel that the person, was breaking the law, you can have that conversation with the police and they will take it from there. But most times, the insurance companies still handle there's damage accidents.
Gotcha. All right. So we're at that hour. Any final comments, questions, especially from you, Mr. Michael? As a young person, I keep on saying.
I feel like the behaviors that we learn on the road, we're not just gonna keep them in Bermuda. We're gonna carry them through the rest of our lives. So I feel like it's very important that we, from a young age, develop a healthy behavior on the road, and just trying to promote that to our peers and the people around us to ensure that we can all enjoy the road safely.
Okay. Well, again, thank you for coming on by. As a young person, it's good to know that you're here, you're involved, and we as all residents have to respect the role of young people in all facets of our lives. And so once more, thank you. Mr. Roberts?
Yes, I just want to, I think I've been preaching this sermon all night, that it starts with us.
Okay.
Let us be the change. And I heard someone say this before, I think it was my boss who actually said it. If we treat everyone on the road how we treat our family, the ones that we love, we will see a safer time on our roads. We see different behaviors. Everybody on our road, we're all family. We're all Bermudian family, right? Let's treat each other with care, caution, courtesy, and let us be the change agents to see change on our roads. So change your mind, so that behaviors can be changed on our roads.
Okay. And to listen, audience, thank you again for joining us here on Magic 102.7 on your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. Many questions have come in. I trust I've gone through and tried to answer, if not your exact question, at least the spirit of your question, so people are aware. And clearly, we need to do better because there are too many accidents on our roads, too many collisions, too many road deaths. And we talked about the fact that there have been 108 road fatalities in that 10-year span. And when I was preparing for today's show, I looked at it and said, you know what? For every person that dies on our roads, there's at least five persons that they've impacted, whether it be family members, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters, children, whatever the case may be, friends and family. And so you take the number by 5, that is at least 500 people being impacted by an accident. We talked about, and those are accident fatalities. At the beginning of this show, Mr. Roberts talked about the fact that there are approximately 100 accidents, and of that, there are 10 people that actually require significant care. That's even more because it's extended care, whether it be the first accident and then you have to go overseas or a local hospital, then there's rehabilitation and in some cases, a permanent impact. Well, persons do know that in some level in my private life, I do get involved with these things. And yesterday was, for me, one of the most significant times in that there were 4 medical air flights out of Bermuda, well, 3 out and 1 in, which means that we would have spent probably about, I don't know, and they weren't traffic accidents, by the way, just generally speaking, though, maybe $25,000 or so per flight. And so that's another impact on the healthcare system. And so we complain already about the ongoing cause of healthcare and how the system's getting clogged up. That is another result. And I think you said about the ambulances, for example. So whenever there's a collision or an accident, we have people have to respond. You got policemen have to respond, firemen respond, the police fire, they respond, and the ambulances respond. 4 people out again. And so again, for all of us, please, let's do our best to take this initiative personally. If you operate a vehicle, then tonight or tomorrow, don't talk about anybody else. What are you doing to ensure that the roads are safer? What are you doing to ensure that you respect the other road users? What are you doing in terms of leaving on time? And what are you doing in terms of your mental attitude while you're on the road to ensure that we have a safer place? So on that note, Bermuda, thank you again for joining us here on Magic 102.7 your Sunday evening for another edition of Insight. Please wear a high visibility vest or light or something to let us know whether you're out early or late, because we need to have as much advance notice as possible to ensure that we see you. Sometimes people are driving slow, they're tired, under influence, in a hurry, just distracted. And the more time you give them to see you, the better chance there is that there will not be a collision whereby you get injured. So on that note, Bermuda, good night. Until next week.
Bermuda Live on YouTube. Subscribe now.